Hey folks, it's Saturday, so that means I will be discussing an episode of an animated superhero television series. Today, that will be the episode of the Legion of Superheroes cartoon titled Chain of Command. If you haven't seen this episode, we start with Lightning Lad barking orders on the ship, and we find out that this mega planet-wide storm is hitting his home world, the breadbasket of the galaxy. When they land, we see Cosmic Boy, and Lightning Lad does not like this guy. And he's brought a new guy, Pharaoh Lad, who I guess he decides is a member of the Legion without consulting anyone else. The rest of the episode is basically a peeing contest between Lightning Lad, Cosmic Boy, and oddly enough, Bouncing Boy. Finally, when it's crunch time, everyone listens to Bouncing Boy, the storm is taken care of, and then there's a vote to decide who the new leader of the team will be, and Bouncing Boy is chosen. We get a happy hug time, and then a weird, mysterious cliffhanger ending where some weird alien is on a ship smiling. Cue credits. So, I don't mind Bouncing Boy being the leader here, but it would have been nice if we could have seen him actually exhibit some of these leaderly qualities throughout the season, instead of basically being the comic relief for 11 episodes, until suddenly everyone respects him and is looking up to him. A slow progression towards this revelation that he's actually really good at tactics would have been nice. And then we have the vote where you assume that everyone will vote for either Cosmic Boy or Lightning Lad. Most of the voting is coming from people who weren't even on this mission. How did Starboy, Tyrock, Element Lad, Timberwolf, and Matter Eater Lad know to vote for Bouncing Boy? I'm assuming the majority of the votes came from some of those guys who were not on this mission. Again, this would have been nice if we had some leaderish moments throughout the season, but oh well, I guess this is as good as you can expect from a cartoon where the people behind it are probably working under the assumption that the audience does not have a great attention span. Then we've got the rivalry between Cosmic Boy and Lightning Lad. As I've said before, I'm not as familiar with the Legion comics as I would like to be, but I've never seen any examples of these two butting heads so much as they do in this episode. And for the most part, this episode kind of makes it work. I do think it's a little heavy-handed that the entire team flocks to Cosmic Boy as if he is their savior that they have been missing this entire time. That of course makes Lightning Lad really jealous because we can't do something subtle with the conflict between these guys, right? But my big problem here comes from the way Cosmic Boy himself acts. I actually know very little about Cosmic Boy from the comics, but what I do know tells me that this is not the kind of guy who would engage in petty arguments just so that he can feel like he's in charge of the team. Lightning Lad, sure. We've seen that he has a pretty terrible human being for a brother, and growing up with that jerk would definitely have fostered some confrontational attitudes in Lightning Lad for sure. And so if someone, even someone with good intentions like Cosmic Boy, comes in and starts pushing his weight around, I can easily see Lightning Lad getting very angry and acting the way he does. But Cosmic Boy is supposed to be this noble heroic archetype, right? Kinda like Captain America with magnetic powers. But this episode is playing him more like Lightning Lad 2.0, who everyone just happens to like. He really is just the same kind of dude as Lightning Lad, except that he's more sexist towards Saturn Girl at one point than Lightning Lad has ever been. Now, this may not be a big deal if we don't see much of Cosmic Boy again in this series, but I kinda sorta get the idea that he's going to feature somewhat prominently from this point on, which makes me feel a little queasy just thinking about it. It would be one thing if Cosmic Boy kinda acted differently from any of the characters that we've seen, but I'm basically getting the vibe that we're gonna be getting twice as much Lightning Lad, and I just don't really look forward to that in the remainder of this series. Not to mention, we get Cosmic Boy here saying that he never left the team and that many people in the galaxy still don't trust the team. So he's out there trying to legitimize the name of the team. His words, not mine. Okay, this addresses at least one of my concerns I had earlier in this series. In some episodes, the Science Police fired on the Legion just as quickly as they would have fired on a villain. But then in other episodes, the Legion members are recognized as heroes by the President of the Galaxy. I guess now we're back to the team not being trusted. But why? Could we have a reason why Cosmic Boy felt that he had to legitimize the name of the Legion? And regardless of the reason, maybe there should have been a clear explanation before he left. Yeah, I'm going to go and try and make people trust us. Lightning Lad, you're in charge while I'm gone. Or heck, if there's a protocol for the Legion voting for their leaders, then have people vote for a new leader, since Cosmic Boy clearly is not going to be leading for a while. He may say that he never left the team, but he sure hasn't been with the team for a long time. Long enough for someone else to fill the vacuum while he was gone. I get that the conflict of this episode is that these two are butting heads, but I feel like an organization like the Legion, there would need to be some kind of system so that if Cosmic Boy decides to leave but he say that he's not leaving, then there would be no confusion later. I do feel like it was great that we didn't have an actual villain for the group to deal with, allowing for more focus to be on the heroes of this episode. When you have someone like Dax, you have to give him motivation so that we understand why he's doing what he's doing, and if you don't do that, then it feels sloppy. This episode didn't have to worry about that, and I think that's a plus here. I know we've had episodes where there wasn't exactly a villain to deal with, like Brain Drain, but this one I think is more straightforward in that there is a natural disaster and the team is needed. Boom. No explanation needed. I do find it a little bit problematic that we're getting Pharaoh Lad here. I don't have a problem with Pharaoh Lad the character, but I can already tell you that the next episode, part of a two-part story called Sundown, is going to feature the death of Pharaoh Lad. Just pulling from my comic book knowledge, I know that Pharaoh Lad died in the Silver Age fighting a creature called the Sun Eater. So now we have Pharaoh Lad being introduced, and the next episode is titled Sundown. Pretty obvious where this is going. If these guys were planning to do a story where Pharaoh Lad sacrifices himself to save the universe, like he did in the comics, couldn't they have just introduced Pharaoh Lad at the very beginning of the series? He wouldn't have even had to have featured in every single episode, but maybe over half of them would have been nice. Then when this kid gives up the ghost, we feel emotionally wrung out because we've come to know him over the entire season, and we will miss him. But now it feels a little bit like a cheat. We should kill off a Legionnaire in the Season 1 finale. Okay, let's introduce the guy we're going to kill off immediately before so that we don't lose a character. I think if they had introduced Pharaoh Lad earlier, it wouldn't have destroyed the series when they killed him because we have so many members of the team to rotate in and out of the cast. It's frustrating when the show goes out of its way to kill any emotional resonance that it could have had. Overall, I like this episode pretty well, but there were some problems that I feel like this episode could have overcome with not much trouble at all. And then there were some problems I feel like this episode has simply by existing along with the rest of the series. What did you guys think? Did you guys like this episode or did you hate it? Did you like this review? If you did, let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Next Saturday, I will be discussing an episode of Batman the Animated Series, and then the following weekend, I will be covering the two-part Season 1 finale of Legion of Superheroes. But in the meanwhile, while you're waiting for those videos, I will have all kinds of other videos throughout the week. I hope to see you then. Until then, have a great day.